farmhouse styled book set. Now for our book set, we're gonna use the phrase "C'est la vie," and we topped it off with a paper flower bouquet. But there's other ways you can make this stamped book set, which we'll talk about during the video. We had a limited number of kits available for pickup at the drive-up window. If you were able to get a kit, it included 2 books that you get to keep. These were removed from our collection, so you do not need to return them. They're for you to use for the craft. We also included some white and black paint and some paintbrushes. For the spines, we are going to stamp them using stencils instead of rubber stamps. And the kit also included some plaid ribbon and some twine. And for the paper flowers that we put on top of the book, we got that idea from a Creative Bug video, which we added the link to that video in the description. And the paper flowers were created using floral stem wire, which we created for you, and pre-cut paper flower petals and leaves, which we created using the Cricut. You're also going to need some glue. I used a hot glue gun for this project. And then we are going to curl the paper flowers. I used a pair of pliers to do this, but you can use a pencil or a pair of scissors or your library card to curl the paper. So these are all the supplies that you need. Let's get started. If you like the titles that we supplied, go ahead and read them first before doing the craft. This video will be on YouTube permanently, so you can always come back a week or 2 from now after you've read the book to do the craft. For this craft, we're going to remove the covers, so I recommend paperback soft covers, which is what we supplied in the kits. And so you're going to go ahead and take one of your books, and you're just going to rip the cover off. For our books, we have a barcode with a line across it indicating it's been withdrawn. So if you want, you can remove that first page so that barcode isn't showing. And so now we've removed the cover. I'm going to go ahead and do that for my second book. And so for the farmhouse stamped book set, the book decor, you have 2 options actually. You can keep the books unpainted if you want. So for instance, this is an example of one where I did not paint the front, but I'm going to paint these ones. And so we supplied acrylic white paint in your kit. So what I'm going to do is open this up and kind of place it face down so I have both covers available. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint 1 coat on both of these and let it dry. So I went ahead and added a second coat to my top book, the cover page and the spines. I did not add a second coat of white on my other pages because they won't be visible. But you'll notice that the pages have started to curl. So what I recommend doing is taking your hot glue gun or preferred glue and just dabbing some in the corners and gluing those pages down. With our books painted and the pages glued down, we are ready to stamp the spine and wrap it with our ribbons. The sample that I'm showing in this video has the pages painted white, and we're going to be using the stencils that were supplied in the kit if you were able to pick one up. But again, you have the option of not painting your book if you like that look. Or you could also, if you have a stamp set at home or if you go to a craft store and purchase one, you can buy a stamp set. And so what I did is I used a stamp set and an ink pad, and I stamped the Makery on the spine, and you can use this as a way to customize your book decor if you want. But we're going to use the stencil that we used for our craft kit. So what I'm going to do is break these apart. You want to decide which one's your top one, which one's your bottom one, and we're going to use the phrase c'est la vie, which means that's life in French. And so the c'est comes first, so we're going to put that on the top book. And with this is stencil vinyl, which we cut with our Cricut and Silhouette machines, and then we weeded out the colors so we can paint them in, and covered them with transfer tape. If you have access to the Cricut or the Silhouette, you can check it out and take one home, or you can book a reservation to come to the Makery to use one. You can remake the stencil or make a custom stencil. With these stamped book sets, generally the design, whatever phrase you're stamping on the spine, is going to be near the bottom of the spine. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the word say with the transfer tape, and I'm going to line it up so it's right aligned, so it's at the base of the spine. And I'm going to apply some pressure, and there's a layer of transfer tape on top of this, so you want to remove the transfer tape but not the stencil. And you do want to be careful because it's a painted surface. The stencil doesn't stick as firmly, so you want to make sure you don't pull the stencil off. So we have the word say. I'm going to set this down and get the other one ready. So once you get the stencils on, you should have it so it looks like this. Your two books, c'est la vie on the top, or the phrase say on the top, la vie on the bottom. We're going to paint these stencils in with black paint. So we put black paint in a little pouch for you. Take your foam brush that's in your kit, and you're going to paint in the stencil. And you want to be certain that you're not getting it on your spine or your book, so you want to pay close attention with the stencil. You may decide to do a second coat of the black paint. You always just want to make sure that the first coat dries before you apply a second coat, and that the paint is completely dry before you remove the stencil. I used a weeding tool, but you can also use a paper clip or a safety pin to help get some of those pieces in the center out. So once you've removed your stencil, we are going to stack our books and wrap them with our ribbon. And I am going to set my ribbon down, place my stack kind of upside down in the middle of the ribbon, and I'm gonna fold over my ribbon and make sure I don't have any extra. If your ribbon is longer than you need, you can go ahead and trim it. But this is good, so what I'm gonna do is make sure my ribbon doesn't get too close to the words c'est la vie. And I'm gonna glue it in place with some hot glue, just a little bit. And so there we have our plaid ribbon wrapped around, glued in place. What I normally do is we're gonna knot the twine on this side. So I always have about 6 inches dangling off. And I hold it in spot, and I start wrapping it tightly around the book. And I try to make sure it lines up with that ribbon. And you want to keep wrapping it until you start to run out of twine. So after it's been wrapped, you should have about 6 inches or more of twine left over that you can use to knot. And then do a little knot or a ribbon. So I'm just going to do bunny ears. If you were able to pick up a kit, it comes with about 50 to 60 pre-cut flower petals and 3 leaves. The next step is going to be to curl the paper. We got this idea for the paper flowers from a Creative Bug video. So the link for that video is in the description of this video if you want to watch the whole thing. These were cut with a Cricut using the Creative Bugs template. And what you want to do is grab something slim and dull. I'm using a pair of pliers. You can also use a slim pencil, or you can use the outer edge of your scissors. You don't want to use the blade. And you're going to curl it like you do ribbon if you're wrapping a gift. But you want to be very gentle because these are easy to rip. Your kit has about 50 to 60 of these petals. You only need about 40 to get a bouquet. So don't worry if you ruin about 10 to 20 of them. And you're just going to go through and you're going to curl all of the papers. Now that I've curled all of the paper petals, I'm ready to make my floral stem. Again, we got this idea for the paper flowers from a Creative Bug video, so you can watch that whole video yourself. But we created the floral stems for those who were able to pick up the kit. To make the stems, we cut them at 5 inches instead of 12. And we used either floral wire or stem wire. You can use either or. And we took floral tape and we wrapped it around the base of the stem about halfway is where we started. And we wrapped it to the base. And what I'm going to do next is trim these off so they all are about the same length at the top. Now that they're all roughly the same length, I am going to curl the edges. The purpose of curling the edges is so we have something to glue the petals onto. Right now there's not a lot of surface when the wires aren't curled. So I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to curl and wrap around so there's a loop. So the item that is in your kit, if you were able to pick one up, should look something like this. It is a floral stem with the ends curled. Now that we have our floral stem ready and our petals curled, we are ready to glue them to the stem. You will need your hot glue gun, so go ahead and plug that in, or you can use another glue of your preference. And what I actually did was took a paper cup and I cut it down so I could rest my floral stem in it. And this will just help me glue the petals on without having to hold it at the same time. So that's just useful for me. And what we want to do is we want to start fanning out the wires. So I recommend having about 5 wires going straight out. I have 5 wires straight out at the base, 5 wires kind of medium angled out, and I'm going to do 5 wires for my top layer and then 1 for the center. So you want it to look something like this with all of the stems fanned out. Again, starting kind of at a 90-degree angle for your base layer and then kind of working its way up to the center. And I'm going to set that in. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our petals and we're going to glue them and place them on those loops. Now what we're going to do is we're going to glue the sides of the petals to other petals, and we're going to kind of build building blocks to all of those other petals. Again, there's a Creative Bug video that shows how to do this very well, so I recommend watching that for some more info. But I put a little bit of glue on one petal and I'm going to squeeze it together with this other petal. And so one petal's on. I still have a lot of space to fill to this other petal, so I'm going to glue. And sometimes it helps to set this on the table once you get going and just rotating it. So if you can see here, I had one petal attached to a stem here and another petal attached to a stem here, and I glued two petals in between connecting them. So now I have a somewhat of a base. I'm going to fill my whole base, and we're going to do that for the whole bouquet. So now it's time to put those leaves on. So I'm going to go ahead and place some glue on one of my leaves. Place it about halfway down my flower stem. Make sure it kind of dries and bend the leaf out. Everything should be dry on my flower now, so I'm just peeling away some of the stringy glue left over. Cleaning it up a little bit. And there we have a paper flower bouquet that we are going to add to our stamped book set. So now we should have our stamped book set and our flowers. We are going to combine the two and put the flowers on top of our book set. To do this, I just bent the flower stem a little bit so that way when we tuck it under the ribbon, it kind of rests better on the books. And there we have our finished farmhouse style book decor set you can put around your house to decorate your home. We used paper flowers to decorate the top of the books, but you can customize this and make your own flowers or buy flowers. Michael's, Joann's, and Hobby Lobby have fake flowers you can purchase and tuck under the ribbon. Or you can watch our craft night from the Makery video from November 2020 to see how to make felted flowers if you want to decorate it with felted flowers on top. We hope you enjoyed this craft, and if you wanted to show us how you did, go ahead and post about it on social media and tag us at AskElmhurst or #ElmhurstMakery to show us how you did. Thank you for joining me and have a nice day.